Thanks for joining, everyone, and welcome to the day 10 of the Marketing Cloud Administrator Bootcamp. And I really thank everyone for hanging in and attending all the sessions and following for all your active participation. And I hope these bootcamp sessions are helpful for you. And these are the sessions that we have covered so far. We are in the day 10, the last session that is related to the technical concepts of the exam. On the 18th of November, we have Ask Me Anything panel, which is an opportunity for you all to ask any of the questions that you have related to these bootcamp sessions, and also any questions related to the administrator certification. And also we have one last session, which is yet to be scheduled. That could be related to the certification guidance. So if any of you have any further questions or any guidance that you would need with respect to the certification preparation, that session would be helpful. We will be sharing that session information as soon as we get it on the schedule. And here are the sessions that were covered as part of this bootcamp. And all these session slides and recordings are, some of them are already uploaded, and few of them will be uploaded shortly. And the slide decks are available on the drive. And if a couple of things before we get started, this session is also being recorded, and we will upload them at the earliest possible. And please post your questions in the chat window, and we will answer them at the end of the session. And any other questions or any confirmation that you want to get, anything else, please post them on the Slack channel. And I believe all of you are already part of the Slack channel. And please follow the resources and the homework channels to find some useful links related to the sessions that we have been conducting. And any other feedback, please share it on the Slack and on Twitter using these hashtags MC Learning Camp and tag @PHXB2CUG. And in today's session, we have Natasha and Kaelan. Natasha will be going over the Journey Builder concepts. Journey Builder is an important feature of the Marketing Cloud, and it is an automation engine which is used exclusively in the Marketing Cloud. An administrator is responsible to create the journeys. So this is important irrespective of the exam. And I'm sure Natasha is going to throw more light on how we create the journeys and what all goes into the Journey Builder. And the next, it is followed by the Marketing Cloud Connect features that is covered by Kaelan. And now I will turn it over to Natasha. Natasha, I'm going to stop my screen share.
Thank you. And just one sec, I'm just getting set up here. I'm very happy to meet everyone again. This is actually my second time I'm speaking at this session, so some of you might remember me from one of the earlier sessions. Seems like a while ago. So I will get started. There's a ton of new concepts. Well, maybe new. Maybe some of you would be familiar with them, that I will try my best to simplify and explain, because I know I've got Kaelan after me who has MC Connect, which is a bit of a doozy in itself. So there's today is going to be a bit of a powerhouse in terms of all that we will be throwing your way. So bear with us. Like JB said, these are all recorded. If you have to go through everything, I didn't become, well, I'm not even an expert, but I didn't become an expert overnight. So take everything that I say with a grain of salt. And with that said, I'm going to get to sharing my screen. Just 1 second. And please confirm when you can see it. All good?
We're not able to see it, Natasha, if you're sharing your screen.
Oh, you're not yet? It tells me that it is being shared. What about now?
I think it's coming. Yeah, we can see it now.
Okay, perfect. Now can you see the presentation now?
Yes. We're all good.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for confirming. It's been what, almost 2 years that we're working from home, and I can never get my screen sharing right. We will learn. All right, so the certification bootcamp, day 10. A little about me. I've spent the last 7 years in Marketing Cloud, based in Canada, Toronto, last 15 plus years, plus minus, in overall digital marketing. So I'm a digital marketer turned technologist, specialized in Salesforce Marketing Cloud. Certified, I'm a marketing champion, as are a ton of other panelists that you saw on that screen earlier that JB shared. I'm also the Marketing Cloud practice lead at Accenture. So if anybody is looking for a job, hint, hint, talk to me. There's also my LinkedIn profile down there. I'm happy to connect after this session as well. If you have any questions about this, any future conversations, I love this community. I'm very proud to be a part of it. To get started, I am going to cover the basics of Journey Builder. Like I said, for those who are new to Journey Builder, there'll be a few concepts that will be new to you. Don't worry, you'll get the hang of it. It is not that complex, just new terminology. I'll talk about the types of journeys you can build in Marketing Cloud, what event sources are, entry sources are, what flow controls are, wait activities are, what goals are, exit criteria, difference between journey data, contact data, and some other concepts. And then I will log into the platform itself and quickly show you a journey. This is all part of the channel management part of the exam, which makes up 16% of the overall exam. So Journey Builder is just one component of that. There will be 10 questions across that entire section. So it's good to know Journey Builder. And typically the questions that I've seen asked are very use case specific. If Northern Trail Outfitters wants to send an email with one-to-one personalization, like it'll be very use case specific. Well, it could be that for the most part. It could also be true and false or something. So it's good to have this covered in case one of the other questions you slip up on. So Journey Builder, what is it? In a nutshell, it is a campaign planning tool that companies or their marketers can use to design and automate campaigns. So I've made those two words bold: design and automate. That is at the crux of Journey Builder. You have this beautiful UI, like this white screen you see here, that you can drag and drop elements onto. So essentially you're designing a campaign and you can automate it. So that's the beauty of Journey Builder. It takes a lot of manual work from campaign creation and campaign management and campaign execution. And now you have this very powerful engine that allows you to automate it. And essentially, like when you see how Journey Builder is defined and how Salesforce likes to promote Journey Builder, they talk about how it is the one-to-one campaign orchestration tool, relationship building tool. It helps customers through their journey with a brand. All of that is well and good. But at the core, at its essence, it is a very powerful tool that marketers use to automate campaigns and design and build these powerful campaigns. So once, it took me a while back when I was, I think 6 years ago when Journey Builder was introduced, or 5 years ago. It took me a while because the marketing terminology just didn't sit in my head. I didn't understand what that meant. But once I got to know it, like, okay, back in the day, even now, some marketers like to send out, manual single send emails. But say I'm a marketer, I send out a single send email. Next day, somebody tells me, okay, everyone who clicked on that email, clicked on that link in that email, send them a follow-up email. I would manually pull out a list, run some SQL or a filter, pull out a list of all the people who clicked on a link and send them a follow-up email. Third day, somebody else comes up to me and says, okay, you sent email 2. Send a third email to everyone who still hasn't opened it. Manually, I'll go back. So you see, all of this is just adding more work on my plate. Come Journey Builder. Journey Builder takes some of those tasks and a lot of other tasks, but it automates them. You have this tool in which you can just configure. You tell the tool, if somebody like drag email 1, Somebody interacts with email 1, send them email 2. If they don't interact, if they don't click on that link, send them email 3. You don't have to go and query those lists. You don't have to do any of that anymore. Journey Builder does it for you. So it is very, it saves time for you in the long run. Before I get started, before I continue, I do want to say that I can't see any chat messages. So if there are questions coming up, save them for the end, or JB or somebody can help answer them as I speak. Which brings me back here. Again, it automates repetitive tasks. It saves you time. It's a very simple, very intuitive drag and drop canvas. And it's come far from 5 years ago when there was still a lot of R&D being done on it. Even now, Salesforce spends a lot of money on making sure that this tool does its job and it's fast and it's powerful. It can be used to design essentially any kind of campaign, simple, complex, across multiple channels, email, SMS, push, for that one-to-one customer engagement. You can create all sorts of marketing campaigns, whether it is introducing your new customer to your brand, onboarding, welcome campaigns, engagement campaigns, retention campaigns, re-engagement campaigns. So the sky is the limit as far as the types of campaigns you want to create when it comes to Journey Builder. And it is Marketing Cloud powerhouse. When you think Marketing Cloud, you think Journey Builder. Those two terms are so synonymous. They're pretty much interlinked. And Salesforce does always do a lot of research and development. It is constantly being upgraded. It's got new functionality being released all the time. As I walk through some of the concepts, I will also eventually lead up to building a quick journey if I have time. And my journey will be, the purpose of that journey will be to demonstrate some of the concepts I will be talking about today. So in my journey, I'm a Journey Builder administrator. I've got a marketing manager who comes up to me. They want me to create a 3-email journey to introduce new website signups to our brand. And our brand is called Puppy Power. We are a puppy company, well, we're a puppy company, but we are a puppy adoption company. And the marketing managers told me that if somebody clicks on a link in email number 1, exit them from the journey. They should not receive email 2 and 3. Okay, very simple. I get it. I will proceed to building this later. Before I get there, what are the 3 types of journeys you can actually build in Marketing Cloud? So single send. A single send is, like as the name implies, and this is a question that I've seen asked, a single send is a single email, push, or SMS journey that you can build in Marketing Cloud. You can set it up and you can deploy it to a batch audience, which is a whole list of multiple people. Then there is multi-step, which is, I've seen, like most of the people I've worked with, the clients I've worked with, they primarily do multi-step journey. A multi-step journey, as again the name implies, is a series of steps that a client or a customer or contact would go through. These journeys are usually more complex. Like my Puppy Power journey will be a multiple step journey. This will involve, and you'll see what that means, but wait periods, they will involve flow controls, they'll involve multiple messages, whereas a single send is going to be a single message, and that single message can be either an email, SMS, or push. Finally, a transactional send email, similar to a single send email, but it is a transactional API-driven message for a use case such as, like, say, I don't know about you, but I'm constantly forgetting my password to everything. And every time I do it, I have to request a new password. So a transactional send journey can be created for that use case. So password reset and order confirmation. Again, it's a 1 email journey. For intents and purposes, we will be focusing on the multi-step journey for today. And this is also where a lot of these settings that I'll be speaking about, where they come in. So here is the Journey Builder dashboard, and here's the screenshot. I'll be showing this to you in live as well. This is the overview screen. Or once you log into Marketing Cloud, you go to the Journey Builder part of the app. This is what you'll see, or a version of this for your account. Here we've got a few different things happening. On the left, where it says number 1, I'm going to start with the numbering system, is our folders. So right now, what you're seeing on the right, which is number 2, is all the journeys that are currently in the account. And all these journeys that are in the account, there are different statuses. Some are draft, which means they still haven't been launched or they're not running. Some are running, which means they're actually active email or actual journeys that are sending out emails or SMS or push notifications to clients. Some have stopped as well. So here's where you can come in and see what all the different journeys that you have set up in your account, what are running, how are they performing. You can even go up here to number 3, where you can search for specific journeys. Say you created a journey a few months ago, you can come up here, click on number 4, and you can create a journey. You can create one of those 3 journeys we just spoke about. Number 5 is where you can go and see what your entry sources are. So an entry source is a reusable entry criteria, reusable, essentially think of it as a reusable list of contacts that you can inject in the journey. So if you create a journey, like I'll be creating my welcome journey for my Puppy Power campaign. And if I create an entry source here, the entry source will have all the people I want to target. So say people between 20 and 30 years old who live in Ontario, who've purchased from my website in the last 6 months. That is my entry source. So I've got that saved up in this section in where it says entry source. And your audiences that are saved in entry source, they can be reused across multiple journeys. Again, you don't need to memorize or remember any of this. This will come with time as well. I can't preface that more. Journey history is where you can see, using somebody's contact ID, you can see their path to a journey or a journey version. So essentially, how did a contact perform, or where were the contact to a different journey? And journey templates. Most Marketing Cloud accounts now come with, in fact, all Marketing Cloud accounts now come with, I believe, 6 or 7 predefined journey templates that can be used as a nice starting point for people who are new to Journey Builder and they need something to start with. And you can even save your own journey template there and use it going forward. Again, I will be showing you a lot of this stuff in just a few minutes. So Journey Canvas, this is where the magic happens. And how you get here is, if I were to go up here, click on New Journey, and then click on Create New Multi-Step Journey, then the screen would come up. So this is where we would come and create those journeys. And for the sake of simplicity, it's got 4 parts. Number 1, which is on the left here, I'll be going counterclockwise, is the name of the journey and its description. Right now in this is a screenshot I grabbed from, I believe, Trailblazer. Here, the journey's name is Lytics API Event Org Test. And you can change the name while it's still in draft mode. Once the journey is running, you cannot change its name. The second part, which is important, is the entry sources and Canvas activities, which is this entire section. There's more down here as well. The screenshot I wasn't able to grab that, but I will be going through that as well. Number 3 is the actual canvas. This blank slate is where you will be dragging elements from the left to build that final journey. And number 4 is the Journey Builder toolbar, which is all of these sections right here. I will be going through these one by one. Again, not to overwhelm you with too much information, but enough information so you know what each of these things does. Entry source. Now, the entry source, every journey needs to have an entry source. Every journey can have only one entry source. And this is also very critical to remember. Entry source is your data or your audience. Who will receive this journey? Who is receiving the communication built in this journey? In Marketing Cloud, you can have multiple entry sources. I believe it's 7 right now. This screenshot is a bit dated. It's got 6 here. So entry sources right now, as per the screenshot, and I'll be showing you the actual demo as well, include data extension, API event, audience, Salesforce data, cloud pages, and event. For our Puppy Power welcome journey, I will be using a data extension entry source. So what are all these entry sources? This slide, I will again just quickly go through this, but later you will have this deck. So please, 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 these are important. each entry source is used for a different use case. So in the future, even beyond this cert, like once you get the cert, once you're a certified marketing cloud admin, you will be in situations where you'll have to build journeys, and you will be asked, we've got this journey, this campaign needs to go out, what entry source is the best one we should use? And you should know which one. So the one that is most commonly used, at least in my experience, is a data extension entry source. So this is a sendable data extension. And hopefully by now, because I believe a lot of my friends here and JB and the other speakers have spoken about data extension, which is a table in Marketing Cloud that contains data. So a sendable data extension can be used as your data extension entry source. Contacts in that data extension, when you select a sendable data extension as your entry source, they're admitted in a journey as a batch. An audience data source or audience entry source is an audience created in Contact Builder. So that's where Contact Builder comes in. So it's good. When I was prepping for this, I had flashcards created. So every time audience entry source came up, I knew in my mind that audience is related to Contact Builder. So in Contact Builder, you have to go and create that audience, and then you can pick it up and use it as an entry source in Journey Builder. Cloud Pages entry source is Cloud Pages are, you can create landing pages in Marketing Cloud in Cloud Pages, and those are any data you capture from a smart capture form that you create in Cloud Pages. This too is something that in a use case, if say you're creating a form and that form is on your Cloud page, is on Cloud Pages, and you're admitting people who sign up onto that form, you can use that as, or those people who sign up as your Cloud Pages entry source. API event entry source, we use this a lot as well. Here's where you configure an external API to send data to a data extension of your choice and use this as an entry source. This is also great for use cases which are, like, for example, data extension entry source injects a batch of data. This is individual by individual. The API fires individual events. So for example, if on my website, somebody's signing up for a newsletter and that entry source is set up to an API event entry source, that data is coming in sequentially one by one. So in that use case, I would use an API entry source. Salesforce data entry event is any action in Sales or Service Clouds. So not Marketing Cloud, outside of Marketing Cloud, in Sales or Service Clouds. Any action that happens in those clouds, such as updating an object record or creating a new object record, that would inject a contact into a journey. So if you use the Salesforce data entry event, you would have to have either Sales or Service Cloud, and Sales and Service Cloud would have to be connected with Marketing Cloud to MC Connect. And that is also what the next session after this session is going to be about as well. So this is used when any change in your Sales or Service Cloud that pushes contacts to your Journey Builder and makes them the entry source. Contact data event. This is when any change in an external change in the data, such as somebody's address changing or somebody's phone number changing, or a bigger change, their balance changes, their account balance changes. But that change is registered in the data extension, and that automatically sends audience to the journey. In contact data entry event, this is also a Contact Builder is also involved in this one. Inbound chat is relatively new. I haven't personally used this as much, but it admits contacts who send one of the keywords that you select in your app channel. We could talk about this later as well, but for now, for the sake of time, the next section on the left panel is the activities. And in the activities, the first one is messages. So the message, everything in the message activities are all these icons. These are all the message categories or the different types of messages you can drag and drop onto your canvas. They include email, SMS, inbox message. Inbox message is an in-app message or type of in-app message, and then there's push notification, line message, and an actual in-app message. So push notification, inbox, line, and in-app, these are all related to Mobile Connect. So this is, you can use them if you've got, or your company has an app and you've got that app set up in Marketing Cloud and you want to use Journey Builder to push messages to the device users who have that app set up. Otherwise, you can use email and you can use SMS. You can also use SMS if you've got the short code or the long code provisioned in your account. So email is by default a channel you can easily use if you've got all you need is the contact's email address and consent. For all the others, you need to have, there has to be some setup involved before you can use those channels. You can have multiple message categories. So a single journey can have multiple emails, it can have multiple SMSs. It's unlike the entry sources, there can only be one entry source per journey. There can be multiple message types in a journey. Then the next part of your Canvas activities is the flow controls. So think of these as the traffic controller. You can put these in different parts of your journey to manage your contacts experience. Well, what does that mean though? So there's 3 different types of flow controls. There's wait controls, splits, and joins. Now, wait control essentially says wait. Now, you've sent somebody an email, like if you look at this little screenshot on the right, we've sent somebody an email, wait for 1 day, then exit that, whoever got that email, like get them out of the journey, they're done. In more complex ones, it could be different types of wait durations. You can decide after 1 day, send them another email. So wait is essentially just saying, just wait. There is 3 or 4 different types of waits. There's a wait by duration, there's a wait by attribute, and the wait by date. What we've got right here is a wait by duration. We're saying wait for 1 day. Wait by attribute and wait until date. They're also just wait activities, but they function slightly differently. Splits are, think of them as conditional logic. If this, then that. There's 3 different types of splits. Well, there's 4, but I'll be talking about the 4th one later. There's a decision split, engagement split, random split. And these are easier to explain once I get in the app and show you how they work. But essentially, in a split, once you put a split on, like say we were to put a decision split on the screen, on the canvas, and we say, okay, after email 1, we've got a decision split. And we want to push people who, or let's work, forget that. Let's think about, let's take engagement split. After email 1, anybody who clicked on the link in email 1, send them out of the journey. Anybody who did not click on the link in email 2, send them email as email 1, send them email 2. So an engagement split, these are just decisions you can configure in Journey Builder, on your Journey Builder canvas. So instead of, if you remember that example I gave you earlier, then instead of doing all of this work manually, you can have Journey Builder and you can configure Journey Builder to do it. And like I said, I'll show this to you in just a couple of minutes. Join is when you want to join two or more paths on a journey and bring the branch back up. Typically, in a lot of the journeys that I have built, I've used joins in very complex journeys when, you know, the path, and you'll get used to it as you get more and more accustomed to journeys. Usually the journeys that we create, there's a ton of wait activities, best practices to minimize wait activities, but we still use them. We typically use splits, decision splits based on data. One of the decision splits I recently used yesterday was decision splits based on somebody's language preference. So we said, you know, like if language is EN, send them down this path. If language is French, send them down this path. So those are some use cases that you could use decision splits for. Next, Path Optimizer is another kind of activity. So I've seen this question being asked, or questions around Path Optimizer being asked, but essentially what a Path Optimizer does is it allows marketers to test up to 10 different variations of a path to see what performs well. So for example, here in this screenshot, we've got 4 paths. Here's 1 up here, 2, 3, 4. Now, the test here, it appears that there's 4 different types of emails they want to test, and they want to see how these 4 different emails performed. So when you set a path optimizer and say you've got 4 different types of emails, you don't know which one to send to your audience. You can just add this path optimizer as a test, split your audience. Like here, we've said 40% of the audience should get email number 1, 20 each get email number, this version of the email number 2 with the subject line, which is different. This one looks like a different subject line, and this one is a content, and then see how they perform. How we perform is either by seeing the different click rates of these emails, their open rates, or their unsubscribe rates, or you can manually decide your winner. So just to summarize all of that, Path Optimizer allows you to test up to 10 different variations of a path. Excellent for A/B and N testing. And like I said, it'll be great if, well, my recommendation would be after the session to just read up a little more on Path Optimizer and get familiar with it. It's super simple, and it's used for to help marketers answer those questions. Which email should I send? Which subject line should it be? What content should I use? Okay, let's try a Path Optimizer and let's see which one wins. Then we've got our Sales and Service Cloud activities. So essentially, these are to interact with Sales and Service Clouds and Marketing Cloud. These as well need the connector to be enabled. So the baseline is your client or you need to have those other clouds, either sales or service. You need to connect it to the connector, and then you can drag and drop these different activities onto the canvas and say, for example, if I drag the case activity every time, like if there's a new case that's created in Sales Cloud, then that data can be pushed into Marketing Cloud or used accordingly. Finally, this is an activity as well that we use a lot in my world, the update contact activity, and we use this for journey logging. So for example, if you want to know where a specific contact is in a journey, or what messages have they received, where are they at any given point, we use update contact activity. Here, essentially what we do is we put this in different parts of the journey, and when a contact reaches this activity, then where they are, that we can log in an associated data extension. And this too, I don't know if I can show this to you in my demo. I don't know if I have one configured, but I can show it later. I can send you some links about this. It's a very, very powerful activity for journey logging. If you don't use it, no worries, but then it just gets tough if in a real life situation you're asked by your client or your marketing team, like, where is this specific contact? What email did they interact with? How do we need to reach out to them next? Next, the Journey Builder toolbar. This is as I said, this little guy up here. Here's where we set those journey settings. So from the left up until this point, we know that we need an entry source. We need some sort of messages. We can use some sort of flow activities to manage all of that. We can also use an update contact activity. If we have some Sales and Service Cloud connected, we can also pull in some. So we've got, by now, like we're just going with imagination land, we've got some sort of a journey created. But then what? What are the settings? That's where this little toolbar comes up. Here we can go ahead and copy or paste different types of activities. We can also set a goal and an exit criteria, and more about goal and exit criteria in a second. We can also save a journey, test it, and validate it. So here's a sequence of events. You create a new journey, you give it a name, and obviously I'm going through it in a very simplistic way, but we would have some sort of a wireframe that we're following, some sort of a template or guide or a document that we are following. So we've got a journey created, but then comes the settings part. And that's what I'll be talking about for the next few minutes and the key concepts around that. So journey goal. This is not mandatory. You don't have to have goals in your journey. It's good if you do, but you can set a goal for your journey. And that's essentially, you can create a filter. So for example, a goal for my journey will be, here, I want to send a welcome email or a series of welcome emails, 3 welcome emails to everybody who signs up. And my eventual goal is to have them sign up for my newsletter. So I can put the journey goal as they've signed up for the newsletter. Obviously, I have to have a way of tracking if they've signed up for that newsletter. So it's going to look at the whole contact data, but I can set that up like that. And it is essentially a filter. Here in this screen grab, I want 25 of the total percent to have an opportunity amount of 1,000. So here it's a in this example, what I had set up for my client was I said that after a series of emails, I want to see if they have invested more in our company. And if they have, if their opportunity amount is $10,000 or more, they've hit that goal. So as soon as somebody hits that goal, Journey Builder tracks it. And that's a really nice way to see if your journey is performing well or not. Next, exit criteria. This as well is not a mandatory setting. You can use it if you want, you don't have to, but essentially when you set an exit criteria, we can remove contacts that no longer meet your journey's purpose. So for example, if you've got a welcome journey and the whole purpose of the welcome journey is to get people to sign up for the newsletter, but we don't want to keep sending people emails who've signed up for that newsletter. So it's best to have an exit criteria. And an exit criteria, we say, okay, if anybody who's already signed up, they don't need to exit them from the journey. So the journey will automatically be constantly evaluating those people, or it'll be evaluating them at wait periods, and it'll see, okay, this contact, have they signed up for the newsletter? No, let them continue. This contact, have they signed up? Yes, then exit. So the journey will just push them out the journey and they will no longer be a part of the journey. It's best practice to set exit criteria, but like I said, it's not mandatory. Next, here's another journey setting that is important when you set up your journey. So you can decide how many times you want your contact to enter a journey. There's 3 different types. There is no re-entry, re-entry only after exit, and re-entry anytime. This, as well as a question, or various different variations of this, are asked every now and then. In the no re-entry setting, a contact can only enter the journey once, even if they're injected multiple times. These as well, they're all used in different types of use cases. So for example, in a welcome journey, or a journey that a user will only ever get once, you don't want them to get in that journey over and over again and get those messages over and over again. A welcome journey, you just put their setting as no re-entry. So once they're in the journey, they've gone through the sequence, even if they land on the same entry source in the future, they should not enter the journey. So that's when you set up this setting. Second one, re-entry only after exit. Here, as the name implies, a contact can enter the journey only after exiting. So the example for this is an abandoned cart campaign. So only after exiting means only after a contact has been through the entire journey. So if it's a 3-email journey, they've gone through it, and as soon as they leave, as soon as they're out of the journey, then they can enter again. They can't, during a journey, if they're in email, they've received email 2, but now they're back on the list, they should not receive email 1 again. They have to go through that whole sequence. This use case is the best use case for this would be an abandoned cart campaign, which essentially means if you're an online retailer, your client has put, or your prospect has put items in their cart, but they've abandoned it. So now you send them a reminder email saying you've abandoned items in your cart. So only send this email to them once they've exited that journey. Again, you don't want to bombard them with emails. Finally, the re-entry anytime. This is when a contact can re-enter anytime. So essentially, even if a contact is in your journey, they're back on the list, send them in that journey again. Use cases for this are, you want to follow up, or your client is really unhappy and they're sending a lot of customer care emails. So you want to just keep following up with them and say, don't worry, we're, your priority, we are getting on this. So and in most cases, you have to think about this. Obviously, when you're setting up your journey, if you are setting up a journey, you have to work very closely with your clients, try to understand the use case, and then they will ask you for a recommendation. And in exam questions, I've seen use cases where you have to choose which is the best type of re-entry if there is one. So this is something that you'll just have to practice again. Then this is another concept that comes up every now and then. journey data versus contact data. And I've literally heard this as a question, like, what is the difference between journey data and contact data? So journey data is the initial data about a contact. It's static. It's the snapshot of a contact's attributes. So for example, if I have a data extension as my entry source, and that data extension has somebody's first name, their last name, their email address, and say their last purchase price, that data from the data extension is a journey data. This data is not going to change. It is stored in the system's memory, in Journey Builder's memory. It will not change as somebody goes through the journey. It is static. It's also fast. It is also like if you're using a data extension, journey data does not need, it'll automatically pick up that data from the journey data, from the data extension that becomes a journey data. And the use case for journey data is a drip campaign or welcome series where you don't need up-to-date data. You just use static data. You don't need to know, it's unlikely that somebody changes their name while they're in a welcome campaign with you. It's unlikely that they change their email address. So you just use that static data and push them through. Meanwhile, contact data is updated data. It is the most relevant and up-to-date data that is based on the contact model. So the differences between journey data and contact data are there will be use cases where you have to choose which one to use. So contact data it picks up the most relevant data in your contact model. So in Contact Builder, that's where contact data comes into play. You have to explicitly create contact data as an attribute group in Contact Builder. And use case for this is, like the first one is drip campaign. This one is you want up-to-date data. You want to know what somebody purchased, and you want to know their loyalty points. So for example, if I'm a loyal member of Indigo, and Indigo want to send me a gift card for my loyalty, so they need to send me, or they need to first check my loyalty points. And they need to do that even through the journey because my loyalty points could increase even during the journey. So if I get email number 1, my loyalty points are 100. But between email number 1 and email number 2, there is a wait period of 20 days. And during that time, my loyalty points have become 1,000 somehow. I've purchased a lot. So in that kind of a use case, you will want to use contact data. And this is also a setting in Journey Builder that you need to specify. So if I reel it back, the question that's usually asked is, and it's usually like a use case, in this scenario, which data do you want to use? So in your mind, journey data is always used for the static scenarios where you don't need up-to-date data. Contact data is used for those dynamic scenarios where you do need that up-to-date data. You want to know somebody's most recent purchase. You want to know their loyalty points. You want to know what their most recent data is. So that's the big difference between these two. Journey pause and journey stop. I promise there's just a couple more of these, and I'm so sorry they're so dry, but these are very, very important. So you can pause a journey for a maximum duration of 14 days. This was a feature that was actually released, I believe, last year, May 2020, and this is great. Before that, we could not pause a journey. So what a pause does is it tells the system that stop processing contacts and stop sending them messages. Contacts that are already queued to be sent out, they're not paused, like they will still go out. But any contacts that are not yet processed, they're not sending any messages. You can pause either the current version of your journey or all your versions. And I'll be talking about versions in just a second, the next slide. And once you resume your pause, or the system resumes your pause, it can automatically resume your pause, or if you want to do it yourself, you can do it as well, then all the contacts are evaluated again. So say you've got 100 people in your data extension, 2 of them are, and you pause your journey, but 2 of them have already been processed, the pause does not apply to them. You've got 98 people still waiting there. As soon as the journey is re-enabled or unpaused, then the system goes and evaluates them again and sees, okay, what is the status? Is there an exit criteria? Did they meet? So then the processing continues. The thing to note about this is the 14-day duration. That's a question that's asked. So just remember, journey pause, maximum 14 days. Journey stop. You can even go ahead and just stop a journey completely. Stopping a journey, it just completely stops the flow of activities. ejects all the contacts from a journey. And once you stop a journey, you can't resume it again. Like you're done with that specific version. You'll just have to create a new version. So if you accidentally stop it for whatever reason, or you decide, oh, oops, I wasn't supposed to stop it, no worries. You can just, based on that same journey, you can just create a new version. Finally, journey versions. So say you've spent months and months and months on building your journey, and it's live, you've tested it, your client is happy, it's launched, but 2 months later, somebody comes to you and says, oh, oops, I made a mistake. I want to go and change the flow of the journey a little bit, or I want to add new content, or I want to remove that email and swap it with an SMS. What do you do? That's where journey versioning comes in. So journey versioning means you can, the live journey, or the one that's currently active, you can create a new version of that. And when you create a new version, the new version becomes a draft version. And whatever changes you want in that new version, you can create. So you've now got 2 versions of your journey, one that's active, a new one that's draft. In the draft one, you can make all the changes you want until you activate it. And once you activate this, the previous version stops. So at one point, you can only have one draft version. You cannot reactivate a stopped version. You can only ever create a new version on top of that. So the whole versioning concept is it's important to know when you realize that you want to make some edits or some changes to your journey. I've seen this happen a lot of times. People, obviously no journey is evergreen as such, even welcome campaigns, which are so-called like set and forget, are not. Your logo changes and your branding changes, you want to create it. So every time something like that happens and you want to edit it, you create a new version. The other advantage of new versioning is that the people in your current, or the contacts in your current journey, they're not impacted. So even when you are working on that new draft, the contacts in your previous draft, they're still going through until you enable the new one. Then all the contacts shift and automatically come the new one. So that is it about journey versioning. Now I'm going to show you. Please let me know if you can see my screen still.
We can see, Natasha.
Okay, perfect. So here's the journey dashboard that I talked to you about. Here's all of the folders on the left. Here's all the journeys that I have in my account. As you can see, they've got different statuses. Some are running, some are stopped. Here's the performance. Performance comes in if they've got goals. So I set up goals for this one, the first 3, and they're saying that some of them met their goals. Then I can search for journeys up here. I can even search with this filter icon. I can see the different journeys, like the analytics, how many of my journeys actually met the goal. Of course, this does not apply, or it's not, I would say, a great source of data if you don't have goals for all your journeys. And then here's the part that we are most interested in: create a new journey. If you click on it, you first got those 3 types of journeys. For us, we want to build the multi-step journey. So we'll click on multi-step journey. Here is all of our entry sources that we talked about. Here's all of our message activities. Here, and in the message activities, in my account, I've also got WhatsApp. It's not configured, but if it were, I'd be able to use this as well. I've also got Ad Studio and Ad Campaign. So these are used if I want to use advertising studio, which is right here. So I can use a campaign, or I can bring data here, and I can push that into, like, say, Facebook audiences. Here's all of my flow activities. There's a couple that we didn't talk about earlier, but those are these Einstein flow activities. One that I use a lot is Einstein send time optimization. Essentially, this has logic and intelligence built behind it that sees when people are interacting most with emails, and then it sends emails accordingly. We've got the update contact activity. I don't have a lot of experience with Interaction Studio activities, so I'm just going to skip over that for now. I'm assuming it's related to Interaction Studio itself, which is this tool here. And we've got then our Sales and Service Cloud activities, which are all of these icons. So say if we were to build a super simple journey with data extension entry source, I would just click the data extension icon onto my canvas here. tell the journey which data extension to pick. For my example, I'm just going to go and pick a data extension from here, say journey ready. It's got 2 contacts in it, summary, and done. Now I want to say how many, like what is the schedule for the, like how frequently should contacts enter this journey from the data extension? I can run it once. Essentially what run once means that this journey, data from this data extension should enter the journey only once. And then that's it, no more. So if I've got these 2 contacts and I say run once, those 2 contacts will be injected just once. The journey will run, but no future contacts will be injected. I could go with recurring. In a recurring, which is usually how I would set it up if I've got another source of like Automation Studio feeding this data extension on a daily basis, I say recurring, and I want contacts to be fed into this journey as batch every day starting from tomorrow at 12 a.m. Central Time, and it should be daily. So this is also a setting that you can set up based on your use case. How frequently do you want data to enter your journey? For me, I'm saying every day at 12 a.m. push data into the journey from the data extension, and I don't want it to ever end. I want this process to continue indefinitely. Summary and cancel, and that is done. Oops, I don't know. Discord. Okay. Next, let's build our contact messages here. So first one, email 1. Then I say, okay, email 1. Let's click on the email and get the actual email here. And this data extension was built previously. Email also, I'm just going to pick up something that is already set up in my account. System gets a bit slow sometimes, so bear with me. Oh, there's an internal server error. Hold on, I go old school and I just refresh it. So I'll have to build some of that from scratch. Oh, interesting. Something changed. I've got the Google Analytics 360 here. Oh, and it disappeared. Okay, something funky is happening, but let's just ignore that for now. So I'm not going to configure this again, just for the sake of time. I've got email 1. Let's pick up an email from the system. If it allows me, I'll say select message. It takes me to Contact Builder, which is where all our email, all our assets are. I'm going to say, let's pick up welcome email number 1 from this folder. It'll tell me, okay, here's all the configuration already set up for this email in Contact Builder. Does everything look good to you? I'll say, yes, it looks good. Done. So I've got email 1. So essentially, so far, I'm telling Journey Builder all the data in this data extension on a recurring fashion. Send them email number 1 every day, and then wait for 1 day. And then I'm going to say, let's do an engagement split. And an engagement split, if you recall, in our use case, I'll say, people, I want them to, here's an email. Anybody who clicks on this link on an email, I can choose any link. I want them to exit after 1 day. They should not proceed with the journey. So say they've clicked on that link, I don't want them to go ahead. And this, obviously, this is just my make-believe, made-up use case. You can have any use case. But for now, that's what an engagement split is. It tells the system that based on how somebody's engaged with an email, opened, the engagement metrics that it uses are opens, clicks, and bounces. Based on how somebody's engaged in an email, proceed with them accordingly. So here I've said, anybody who's clicked on welcome 1, yes, after 1 day, exit. But if there's a no, then after 1 day, send them email 2. So email 2 is very similar to how I picked up email 1. I'm going to go to Contact Builder, go to my folder where it exists, welcome email 2. All the settings look good, done. And very simply, this is a very simple use case. Obviously, I can get as complex as I want. I say after one more day, send them email 3. Okay, that looks good. And let me just reconfigure this again so I can show you how the test works. And that is so far the journey from the canvas. But now let's look at the settings. Now, I'm not going to set up the goal or the exit criteria, but if I were to, I would set them here. Here's a goal, and the goal does look at your contact model. So my goal could be, somebody's credit score went up. So I would look at the contact model, drag the relevant attribute here, and do all of that configuration here. The exit criteria can be set up here. My exit criteria could be somebody, they clicked on the email number 1, so exit them. I don't need to do that right now because exit is right here. Then here's where the other settings are that we talked about. So here, contact entry. What do we want? Do we want no reentry, reentry anytime, reentry only after exiting? For my use case, I'm just going to say no reentry. Default email address is just telling you like what email address to use for the journey if you're sending out that email. For me, I'm saying the email address that is in the entry source. So that is in the data extension. Use that as the sending email address. This is not relevant to our use case, so I'm just going to skip that. Then the data part is that journey and the contact data part. Here's where you would set that up. But for us, just going to skip it and proceed. Next, I've got this journey. I'm going to give it a name and say demo 1, 2, 3. I'm going to save it. So now I've got my journey. It's saved, but does it work? That's where I would validate it. Oh, I forgot to do the schedule. Let's do a schedule. I'll just do a run once. In the past, it was terrifying because validate and test were not options. So once we did create journeys, we just went with God and hope for the best. We don't have to do that anymore. So I'm just going to validate it, and validate kind of checks backend. Is the journey set up properly? Is all the data that it needs there? Any funky stuff happening? Since it is a very simple journey, and that is also a journey builder best practice, always start simple, crawl, walk, run, and then. So it's telling me, yes, you're good. Your journey is great. So now test it. I can even click on test a journey, and I can choose contacts with test a journey. I'm just going to pick up, say, this contact from my data extension. They will not receive any email, but it's just simulating how they will flow through the journey. So in this test, you'll see the person flowing through the journey, the contact flowing through the journey, how if they were to get the email, what their path would be. This takes a couple of minutes, so bear with me here. Any day now.
In the meantime, this comes up, Natasha. I know this takes some time.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the questions. So I'm checking if we can answer
Yeah,
any
of course,
of the
go for it.
questions in the meantime.
I was also going to ask you, how are we on time? Because yeah, we can just take questions, and I know we've got the next session as well, and that's going to be a tough one too.
Yeah, no, so we can pull out any of the questions to the Ask Me Anything panel, and we can also arrange for one more session if needed. So
Sure.
this session we can focus on covering the content. So we are 1 hour into the session, Natasha. You take your time up. No, we just want to make sure that we have the best content and we're covering everything as best as possible.
Perfect.
So in the
Yeah,
meantime, I have one question. Can
sure.
we change the journey entry settings after a journey has already started or
No.
after it is set up? Yeah. Yeah, once it is set up, there is no way to change the journey entry setting.
Yes, unfortunately, you'll have to stop it, create a new version. It's like, no, you can't. That's why it's always like, it's always best to get it completely right at the first go.
Yeah. And can you give me an example of a journey re-entry criteria?
An example of a journey re-entry criteria would be a thank you for your purchase kind of email. So, somebody who is somebody who makes multiple purchases. So every time you go to, if I go to Indigo and I go once a month, and every time I purchase, there's just one journey there, and that constantly is thanking me for my purchase. So that would be an example. I don't know, JB, do you have any other examples as well?
Yeah, but that is the best example, Natasha, and also about the discount program. So when somebody gets a discount and after some time you want to reintroduce them into the discount program or
Yes,
some re-engagement program, they have become inactive, they want to make them engaged again. So we can do it multiple times. Those are the things that I can think of.
yeah, these are usually in those use cases that are recurring. So like somebody will keep purchasing, and somebody who does the same activity many times. So these are for recurring. Like, for example, welcome, which should be a no re-entry, because you would only ever welcome somebody once, unless such a long gap has passed. Then sure, maybe like after 5 years. Maybe I should stop this, JB. This doesn't look like it's doing anything.
Yeah, sometimes it takes a long time. So I think this just shows the path each contact
Yes.
goes through.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is just it is just that. It just shows a path. I'm just going to do this and say, are you sure you want to continue? Confirm. Say everything looks good. That's when I would activate the journey by clicking on this, and then my journey is live. So that is it from me. JB, and you want to take over?
Yeah, but we have a few questions. We can cover it anyways in the next session.